You've got to put what's in your hands in his hands. See, in order to feed 20,000 people, they needed a year's worth of wages. They needed 8 months worth of wages. What they found was a boy with lunch. When the call went out for a need to be met, they found one boy with one lunch that could meet the week need. Hey, there's no way this boy thought that his little lunch could meet the need. He was just willing to give up what he had in his hands. Listen to that. He didn't think. Now listen, if this is you, man, this is so good. If this is you, you'd be looking around. You'd be saying, well, I'd give him my lunch. But my lunch can't feed 20,000 people. So there's no need for me to give up what little I have for it to go to waste. But here's the deal. When you take what's in your hands and you put it in God's hands, that's when the little bit you have can really go a long way. God doesn't need you to bring anything to the table other than what you already have in your hands. And whatever it is you have in your hands, God can use it. Whatever you have in your hands, God can use it. You may not think it's much, but in the hands of God, it's so much more than if it stays in your hands, in my hands. This story's always amazed me. There was an elderly woman in Romania who used this 7.7 pound rock as a doorstop in her house for decades. After she died, her family noticed it had a little shine to it, and they had it evaluated, and come to find out it was a nearly 8-pound amber rock. They sold it to the state of Romania, who put it in a gym, They put it in a museum, and they paid her family over $1 million for a rock that she was using as a doorstop. And it's been on display in a museum since 2022. Here was a lady that had a rock. And if you'd asked her, what do you have? She'd have said, I don't have much. But she had what was in her hands. If she had given it, it'd have been worth so much more. Listen to me. Whatever you have in your hands, it is worth much more in the hand of God. I mean, just go through the Bible. David, remember David? He had a sling. That was not a weapon of war in the day. David had a sling, but God was able to take it. When David put it in the hands of God, it became a giant killer. Moses had a rod, or as we'd call it, a walking stick. But God was able to take that rod, and in the hands of God, it became a miracle working rod. Gideon had a lamp, a lantern. It was not much at all, but with Gideon's lantern, they were able to feed an entire army. Listen this morning, you have something in your hands. You have something that would be much more valuable in the hands of God. The question is, will you take what's in your hands and put it in His? Maybe it's time. You say, preacher, I don't have much time left over. I get it. We're all there. But have you given any of it to Jesus? Because Jesus has this ability to multiply it in our lives. Maybe it's your passion. Maybe it's your ability. Maybe it's a talent that you've not given to Jesus. Maybe it's a skill you've not given to Jesus. Maybe it's a smile. Maybe it's your finances. It always goes farther in the hands of Jesus. If you'll take what's in your hands, put it in His. We're talking about this building project, and listen, you may not have $1 million to put into the hands of Jesus. You may. We encourage you to give it if you do. You may. You may have $5 million to put in the hands of Jesus. You may know somebody that does. Go ask them for the glory of God to put it in the hands of Jesus. You may be looking and saying, well, I don't have a lot. But I promise you, in His hands, it goes farther than it does in our hands.